I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for probably years, and I've mentioned it briefly in live streams and probably talked to some of you on Patreon about it and things like that, but that is my issue with the self-care industry. And I also want to get into self-care and shame and trauma and why those two can almost, it like fights against each other and it can make it really hard for us to take care of ourselves, but we'll get into that secondary. The first part is my issue with the self-care industry. And honestly, my biggest gripe is the fact that we are told through marketing, and I mean, that goes on social media. That means that we have other influencers telling us, we should buy this workout gear, we should join this wellness group, we should buy this supplement, this book, this whatever, right? There's a ton of self-care, wellness type companies out there who make probably billions of dollars off of telling us that in order to take care of ourselves, we have to spend a lot of money. And I find that really frustrating because you and I, we already know that most people with mental health issues aren't able to get help because they can't afford it. I also can tell you that insurance companies don't want to cover it, and I see both sides of this. As a clinician, they want to pay me $70 an hour on average, sometimes less. Spoilers, I spend about $20 to rent my old office per hour. It's about $20 an hour to rent it. I also have to have malpractice insurance. I also have to pay someone to do my billing. You can see where it gets really difficult for a therapist to make a living. And also then $70 per session, even with insurance coverage, that's my copay on my insurance right now to see my therapist, $70. That's a lot of money. It becomes incredibly difficult for people to get the help that they need. About half is the percentage that studies show, that about half of people with mental health concerns aren't able to get the help they need because of cost. So then we're told, oh, well, if you can't do that, then you should do this to take care of yourself. And that costs even more money. Like this marketing scheme to kind of tell people that this is what you need to do to take care of yourself, for me, especially when I was like a broke college student or when Sean and I were just starting out and broke again, that it makes that like health that I personally so desperately strive for unattainable. And I want you to know that self-care doesn't cost anything, and it shouldn't even take that much time. Like some of the basic ways that we can take care of ourselves, and I use the term basic not as a put down, just as sometimes you just have to keep it simple. Are you taking your medication that's prescribed to you regularly? Are you taking a shower regularly? And when I say regularly, I mean like every other day, every 3 days. That's about as many as I'll let my patients get away with, because a shower can be life-changing when we're struggling with depression or anxiety. It can be almost like, I don't know, it's almost like it washes off some of the difficulties that we're struggling with. We can feel birthed anew. I've heard from so many of my patients and viewers over the years how life-changing a shower can be. Have you eaten in the last 3 to 4 hours? You need to eat regularly, and also balanced meals. I didn't say healthy. For any of you with eating disorders, don't let your brain tell you that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, are you eating vegetables? Are you eating carbohydrates? Are you eating proteins? Are you eating fruits? Are you eating a variety of food? There's nothing good or bad. But are you doing that every 3 to 4 hours? Are you drinking enough water? Are you moving your body some? Like if getting out of the house is hard or stressful or anxiety provoking, can we walk around within our home? Maybe we vacuum as a way to almost like kill two birds with one stone. We're cleaning our home and we're moving our body. I don't think that exercise or body movement has to be this like strenuous, intense thing, but it's helpful for our mental health to move it some. Even stretching helps. So doing something that meet your body where it's at. But those are just some of the basic ways. And then a huge one that I think, Sean and I just went to LA to see friends and collaborate for work. And I didn't realize how isolated I'd become and how much I'd craved that like authentic connection with people who've known me for like more than 20 years, which is crazy because I still think I'm like 24, but I'm not, right? I'll be 40 this year. And I didn't think I needed it as much as I did. And so if you haven't had connection with someone who really gets you, not like, hey, how's the weather? Good morning, like stuff with people we don't really know. If you haven't had that real connection, I encourage you to seek it out. Like I know, again, we had to travel for it, and that's an expensive thing, but hopefully for a lot of you, it just means, making a call, maybe hopping on FaceTime or getting in the car, right? Things that we can hopefully do with a really low amount of money. But those are just some things that I want you to know are you practicing self-care, and they don't have to cost anything, and they don't have to take a ton of your time, because otherwise I feel like we're just setting ourselves up for failure, right? If I'm already on a wait list to see a therapist, or I know I can't afford it yet, and so I'm trying groups and whatever, and then I'm looking out for other ways to take care of myself, I don't want you to think that means you need to spend $100 on a pair of yoga leggings, join some crazy wellness center and pay $150 a month, or buy these expensive supplements or these, crazy programs. I don't want you to feel like that's what it has to be. There are so many other ways for us to get our self-care needs met by simply taking care of ourselves and our space. One of the things that helps me, just a side note, is if I start to feel really overwhelmed and it's hard for me to focus, I clean my space. Now that doesn't mean always my whole home. That usually is like my desk. That means it's like, when I feel overwhelmed, it's cluttered. It has like tons of different cords and headphones, and I have like, everything just feels in disarray. Receipts, mail that I don't open because who even cares about mail these days? There's just a bunch of stuff everywhere, and I start to just feel overwhelmed by it. And once I can clean that space, I can focus again and I feel better. It's almost like a breath in. I'm like, oh, I feel so much better about things. So find some simple tools and techniques to help you that don't cost any money and don't take that much time, so that it's something that you can do regularly. Like for me, showering, eating, drinking water, those are things I do each and every day, and it helps me be a better me. It's not perfect, but that is self-care. Don't let anybody tell you that it has to be their specific product. Because trust me, I even get bombarded with these things as a mental health professional online. They're like, try this and share this, and you don't need to spend any money, okay? Taking care of our basic needs is self-care. Now, the second piece that I want to talk about was something I was talking with a member of our community probably about a month or month and a half ago at this point, and she was sharing how she's told all the time, she's doing trauma work, how hard it is for her to engage in self-care behaviors. She's like, I know what it is, you've talked about it, I know what they're called, I get it, but I can't do it. And at that point, I realized that this was because when we suffer from trauma, for those of you who don't know, when we suffer a trauma or repeated little t traumas that build up into PTSD-like responses, that usually comes with some element of shame. And shame, if you don't know, is when we feel like something's like inherently wrong with us. Anybody else ever felt like, why does this shit keep happening to me? Is there just something wrong with me? Like, am I just like like a fly strip for like trauma and dysfunction? It can start to feel like that. And that belief that something's innately wrong with us is where shame comes from. Now, if I think for a second, I'm like, first of all, I've known shame trauma connection for years, but then I didn't make the connection that, well, then when I tell somebody, oh, build up a resource, take care of yourself, do some self-care to soothe your nervous system so you don't get dysregulated and dissociate or whatever comes along with their PTSD, that might not be possible because they think something's wrong with them. They don't think they're worthy, right? We can spend our whole lives, if we had childhood trauma, we can spend our whole lives thinking that we're terrible, disgusting, lazy, stupid, worthless, broken, all that stuff. And so when someone comes and tells us, well, be nice to yourself, do something loving, we're like, no, I don't think I don't know how. We might have never had someone show us how to love ourselves or others. And we also might think something's innately wrong with us. And so I wanted to just talk about this because I think, first of all, it's been overlooked by me. So maybe it's been overlooked by you, and hopefully you're like me, you had this aha moment where you're like, oh my God, that's why it's so hard. Because I cannot tell you the battle I feel with my trauma patients year after year with this self-care piece. It's so difficult for me to motivate them and to get them to believe that they're deserving. And I just didn't see it. I didn't feel the connection. And so my goal now, and hopefully this is helpful in your own process if you find yourself, if any of this is resonating with you, my goal is to talk more about, shame and our relationship with ourselves. Because instead of working on our coping skills and our self-care, which might be unreachable at this moment, it could behoove us instead to work on those bridge statements. I know they're tedious. I hate them just as much as you do, but they're incredibly beneficial. And a bridge statement is when we've been talking trash to ourselves day in and day out, shit talking our experience, our beliefs, our thoughts and our feelings, where we're at in life. We can't just all of a sudden be like, you know what, you're lovely and wonderful, and I think you're great. We can't make that jump, that fake it till you make it. Statistics and research show it doesn't work. So how do we get ourselves to not be faking it and to actually be making it? Is to use bridge statements. So we're building a bridge between these two extremes: negativity, shit talking, I don't know, ice cream and lollipops amazing, right? Like happy-go-lucky island, right? We have to build a bridge. And so each one of those like slats that we're going to put down to put this bridge together are things like, I'm open to the belief that I could in the future maybe talk nicer to myself. Or, I'm going to believe Katie a little bit that maybe if I don't talk such trash, I might feel a little bit better. Maybe. These kinds of maybes, possiblies, I'm open to is not positive, but it's not negative in the same way. And trust me when I tell you, you will feel the difference. And so instead of focusing our energy on, I need to take care of myself, I need to do these nice things, maybe instead we focus on these bridge statements, meaning that we have to acknowledge the shit talking that's happening. Are you telling yourself day in and day out how horrible you are, how not worth it you are? If that's the conversation that you're having, of course you're going to continue to believe it and not be able to engage in any of the healthy coping skills and self-care that's going to get you through the trauma work. We're going to have to start with those bridge statements. I also think there are like self-care or coping skills that maybe are accessible because we don't have to really do anything nice for ourselves per se. And that is that full body shake I've talked about, where we really shake out. What it does is it gets that queued up energy. If anybody's ever had anxiety or PTSD, that like on edge feeling, being really jumpy, that comes from that trauma response having no outlet because we probably go into freeze, right? That dissociation, that more comfortable space. Well, that energy doesn't go away and it courses through us. And we feel very hypervigilant. So a way to kind of purge that energy is to shake it out, stomp our feet, like shake full body, like woo. Feels crazy, actually beneficial. And it's not necessarily a way of showing yourself love or doing a bunch of self-care. It's more about regulating our nervous system. And maybe that reframing will make it accessible. Just throwing it out there because I feel like that one might be one that we can do. But find some ways, and feel free to share in the comments, some ways that you can offer yourself this important component of coping and self-care without letting shame stop it. And I'm sorry that I never thought of this. I never recognized this kind of, I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. It's almost like they just cannot coexist. It's like they're butting into each other and one's not allowing the other. And I will brainstorm some other ways to circumvent it and work around it. But really that conversation with ourselves is going to be key. Noticing the shit talking that's happening. What are the negative sentiments that we're telling ourselves day in and day out? And then can we argue back with something that's more believable? That maybe, maybe Katie's right. Maybe this kind of talk isn't good for me. That's a bridge statement right there again. And it doesn't have to be positive. It doesn't have to argue directly back. It just has to be open to the possibility that it could get better. Anyway, those are my thoughts about this. I've been, trying to find my own way through the self-care world and like what that means to take good care of me and to show myself that I am worth it and I can take up space. And it's hard. So if you're struggling, you're not alone. I think, unfortunately, it tells us we need to spend a lot of money. We need to love ourselves, and that might not be something accessible. So I hope this helps you know that you're not alone and also maybe offers a few tips and tricks to get you through. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you next time.